here's the last thing I'm going to tell you. We've reached the point in Wisconsin where the only one who can fix this is Governor Walker. What you need to do if this concerns you, if you're a Catholic school mom and dad, politely write your bishop. Express your concern. And plead, if it's one of the 4 bishops who are trying to get out of it, plead with them to follow through and be sure that Common Core is being purged from our Catholic schools. Because sometimes it happens that a simple statement makes the issue go away, and then Common Core trucks right along. Please ask them to be accountable. You did the right thing. If you're in the Milwaukee Archdiocese, I would respectfully say to Bishop Listecki, please, give us a living reason why you did this other than defensiveness, other than, do you think I would hurt your kids? Please ask your superintendent of Catholic schools to publicly explain this to us. That's what, and then if you're public school, it is really important, even though there's not much they can do right now. It is very important that you can contact your state congressman and your state senator. Because because of the way the hearings were held, they are mandated to keep records on who calls about Common Core. So even if you've got a Democrat who loves Common Core, they are going to have to record your objections. So get on record with them. I had a state senator tell me this, and I couldn't believe it. He said, Dr. Pesta, let me tell you something. In my office, I've been a senator for 18 years in this state. He says, I tell my staff, if you get 10 calls about anything, let me know, because that's a big deal. In my 18 years, he said, I can count on one hand the number of times I ever received 10 calls about anything. And so clearly, one thing is true. The single biggest thing they're getting called on in the State House is Common Core. They're getting hammered with it. There's not much the legislature can do now, particularly because Governor Walker will not make any really strong public statement about Common Core. Now, right before the State of the State, Walker was hit with about 10,000 phone calls urging him to argue for a way out of Common Core in the State of the State. He never mentioned it. Not only did Governor Walker never mention Common Core in the State of the State, he did mention his good friend, quote, Tony Evers. Now, what happened then, just so you know, the next day, Governor Walker appeared on Vicki McKenna's radio show, and Vicki pushed him on this. And Governor Walker didn't explain why he didn't talk about Common Core, but promised that tomorrow there will be Common Core news. And sure enough, the next day, Governor Walker announced a statewide commission to investigate Common Core. That's good, and he should be thanked for that. The problem is, who did he put in charge of that commission? Tony Evers, right? Take it for what it's worth. I do think he didn't have to form that commission. He did not have to do that. Now, granted, maybe it was only pressure that made him do it, but there is a commission now, and there will be people on that commission who are going to be rational and against Common Core. So that's something. Let's be realistic about this. But I do think you've reached the point. There are people in the legislature, I've seen the bills, who have crafted kill Common Core bills. One of the great heroes of this whole thing is Senator Leah Vukmir. She has been absolutely, if you're anybody from her district, send her roses. She has been stalwart on this. But the bottom line is that Walker has basically told people, don't do it, don't put it forth, right? He's the one who demanded that $7 million, and his people buckled. Take that for what it's worth. He's not going anywhere nationally if he doesn't win re-election in Wisconsin. If this is something that troubles you, tell him what I already told him when his people called me. I will not advocate and I will not donate to you until you at least give us a plan to get out of Common Core. Right? That's what I did. That's what I told his people when they asked, because they want money and they need support. Right? The common consensus, and this deviates from fact. Everything I think I told you about the governor is true. This is now speculation. The argument I keep hearing from Republicans in the legislature is Governor Walker clearly has his mind set on national office. Still, the majority of the states in the union have Common Core. Still, the Department of Education supports Common Core. The Washington establishment supports Common Core. So it is more politically convenient not to push at Common Core. And don't forget the fact that Governor Walker already once very successfully, and thank him for it, poked the teachers' unions. One, got recalled, and won again. I understand his hesitance. And Tony Evers, right, is really the single largest voice in these teacher unions, like it or not. Tony Evers runs them. And we also live in a weird state. We are the only state in the union where the legislature and the governor has very little control over the Secretary of Education. It's not like we don't have a state board of education. So there is not a whole lot Walker could even do if he wanted to. I mean, I think simply coming out strongly would enable his legislators to aggressively go after it. We're not getting that from him. But one of the big worries is that if Walker or anybody else tries to really kill Common Core, then Evers has already said he's going to sue. And if Evers sues the state, that's 2 years where Common Core chugs along while this grinds itself through the courts. So by the time the decision is made, Common Core will have been totally ensconced. It's a dangerous situation. Right? 21 states in the union, including many states who are more liberal than us, have been getting rid of Common Core. I can't put us, we can't, even though these hearings that we held were so clearly won by the opponents of Common Core. Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers of who turned out. The numbers of people who were anti-Common Core who turned out at those hearings doubled the number of people who were for it. And if you removed paid-for teachers and administrators from the state who were bussed in, if you removed them, they had no evidence. They had nobody else, no arguments, because this curriculum's never been tried. It's just we think it'll be great. Look at the people on the other side who testified. We won that hearing, and here we are, right? We will not win this in the next month. We will not win it in the next 6 months. But given that this is going to get worse, not better, when people start to realize what's going on in the schools, you keep pushing this, eventually they're going to have to concede. But what they're counting on is that you're going to hear this and go home and forget about it, or you're going to be so depressed that you're going to throw your hands up and say, what the heck, right? So call those legislators. If you're interested, call the legislators and the senators, and do your best to politely pressure your bishops, because they can fix it, or Governor Walker. Yes?
Go to school board meetings.
And go to school board meetings, yeah. Go to school board meetings, and vote. Make sure your school board members can account for what they've done, and if they can't, vote them out. Again, whatever your politics are, and I admit, might there be aspects of Common Core, might there be that can be useful? Sure. In the same way that not all of that 27,000-page Obamacare bill can be bad, not all of it can be. But think about how this was done. Think about what its permutations are. Think about what's growing up around it. You can always keep what's good, but why?